Most of the team has been hard at work at OTAs, learning a new system, grinding, and getting better each and every day.
Very happy. A lot of work, a lot of execution. We're talking about execution practice as opposed to competition practice. Learning the offense, honing up the defense, rookies getting on point. It's been a lot of fun. Guys' spirits are high, so we've enjoyed it.
Still ahead, the O's return to Camden Yards as they kick off a 6-game homestand, plus how Isaiah Likely is approaching year 2 on the late edition of Sports Unlimited. Jasmine.
Thanks, Rocco. We are getting ready for a pretty nice weekend. We've got better air quality in the forecast. You'll be able to enjoy our warmer temperatures. It'll feel more like summer with high temperatures reaching the mid-80s tomorrow. We'll have plenty of sunshine. And then we've got the hottest day of the weekend on Sunday. Our high temperatures reach the upper 80s and the low 90s. We'll stay nice and dry, but rain comes Sunday night and continues into Monday. Coming up, I'll have a closer look at what to expect for the weekend and the timing of Monday's rain in my full forecast in about 20 minutes. Back to you.
Thank you, Jasmine. Coming up on Fox 45 News at 6 o'clock, who is Richard Worley? We take a deeper dive into the new head of the Baltimore Police Department. And for the first time, a former president has been indicted on federal charges. We continue our team coverage on this breaking story.
We're continuing to follow breaking news. The federal indictment of Donald Trump has been unsealed. The latest on the charges he's facing coming up. Commissioner Michael Harrison is out from his new successor to the impact he had on Baltimore crime. We have team coverage.
This shouldn't have happened.
And new details in that fatal Beltway crash. Fox 45 speaking to the attorney for the family of one of the victims.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 6.
Good evening. I'm Amy Simpson in for Maxine Stryker tonight. We are continuing to follow breaking news. The federal indictment of Donald Trump has been unsealed. This marks the first time in U.S. history a former president has been federally indicted. Trump is facing 37 felony charges related to the mishandling of classified documents. The indictment accuses Trump of having improperly removed boxes from the White House and taking them to his home, Mar-a-Lago. Many of those documents allegedly contained classified information related to national defense. Trump is also facing charges for obstruction of justice, allegedly refusing to return the documents despite requests from federal officials. Jack Smith, the special counsel overseeing the investigation, says the charges are not political and no one is above the law.
The men and women of the United States intelligence community and our armed forces dedicate their lives to protecting our nation and its people. Our laws that protect national defense information are critical to the safety and security of the United States, and they must be enforced.
Trump maintains he did nothing, calling Jack Smith a, quote, Trump hater on social media. He's set to make an appearance in a Miami court on Tuesday next week. Keep in mind, an investigation into President Biden's handling of documents is also ongoing, with special counsel Robert Hur looking into items from D.C. and Delaware. Also tonight, we're continuing our coverage of the sudden departure of Baltimore Police Commissioner Michael Harrison after more than 4 years on the job. His departure also marking the 11th change in leadership at BPD since 2000. We have team coverage tonight looking into the impact of Harrison stepping down. Fox 45's Rebecca Pryor will be giving us a look into the new acting police commissioner taking over Harrison's spot. But we start with Alexa Ashwell, who examines Harrison's time with BPD and the impacts he's made on public safety.
Mayor Brandon Scott says Harrison is leaving the Baltimore Police Department better than it was more than 4 years ago. But is the city itself safer?
Baltimore then versus now. Is the city safer than it was back in 2019 when Michael Harrison became commissioner of the Baltimore Police Department? Mayor Brandon Scott pointing out homicides and shootings are down.
A 19% reduction in homicides and an 8% reduction in non-fatal shootings, respectively, year over year.
But not all are convinced the city is safer.
I don't think much progress has been made on the crime fighting front.
Here, a snapshot of Harrison's more than 4-year tenure. 2019, the city is in its 5th consecutive year of more than 300 homicides. A mother's agonizing cry, one of the first homicides Harrison responds to less than a week after being sworn in as commissioner.
It's unacceptable. It's a level of violence that's constantly increasing.
2020, the year of the pandemic and marked by more changes in leadership. Mayor Brandon Scott takes office, later announcing the group violence reduction strategy. The commissioner on board with the plan.
Some call it focused deterrence, but it targets the subset of individuals committing the most violence. And this mayor and I, we are aligned.
Also that year, then City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby announcing she will no longer prosecute lower level crimes. A controversial move, some say, handcuffed the police and contributed to an increase in crime. The city once again surpassing 300 homicides. 2021, the number of killings on par with 2020 and marked by a deadly attack on one of the department's own. Officer Kiana Hawley ambushed while on duty.
She was at her designated post in a high crime area.
2022, city leaders applying pressure on the commissioner as crime spikes in the summer. The month of June marking the city's most murderous month since 2015.
Do you think it's time for this administration and the police department to reevaluate the current crime plan? These levels of violence are simply not sustainable.
I think we all agree that it's not sustainable. You and I, we agree on that it's not sustainable and that it is increasing. But it's increasing everywhere, in every city.
2023, overall homicides and shootings have declined, but spiked among young people.
Yet again, we're talking about young people using guns against other young people. And so it has to stop.
The juvenile crime crisis, one of the biggest issues that remains as Harrison steps away from the helm.
When the history book is written on his 4 years as commissioner, that there was a lot of focus on consent decree compliance, and there's been continued challenges on the crime fighting front. And the biggest challenge of all is just maintaining an adequate staff police department.
Also, according to the mayor, under Harrison's leadership, BPD is now 80% compliant with the federal consent decree. In Baltimore, Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
There's a new top cop in town. Today marks Richard Worley's first full day as Baltimore City's acting police commissioner. He will have a confirmation hearing by the city council. Both Harrison and Mayor Scott gave Worley their full support during yesterday's announcement. Fox 45's Rebecca Pryor taking a look at Worley's background and his vision for the future of policing in Baltimore.
Well, so far, Worley is being welcomed with open arms. His Baltimore roots and decades of experience bringing a new perspective and high hopes for what's ahead.
It's an honor to be standing here.
Acting Commissioner Richard Worley, new to the role,
I've dedicated my life to service the city of Baltimore,
but not new to Baltimore.
and I look forward to continuing that service.
A big town native, the homegrown cop comes with nearly 25 years of experience within BPD, rising from patrol officer to second in command. Worley starting his career as a trainee in 1998. A decade later, he was promoted to lieutenant and then major shortly after that. From there, he served as a lieutenant colonel in 2016, a full colonel in 2018, and has spent the past 9 months as deputy commissioner.
Most of the time, you don't become a commissioner in the city, the agency that you come through. I'm lucky enough to hopefully do that now.
Worley attributing much of his success to the mentorship and guidance of his predecessor, Michael Harrison, whose vision for reform and holistic approach to crime, Worley says he plans to continue.
We've changed the department. We went from being a warrior to a guardian mentality. We've not only reformed the department, but we're lowering crime while we're doing the same thing. And that's very, very difficult to do.
I do think that there's a warmth that Commissioner Worley will exude to his staff.
Former federal and state prosecutor Thuruvik Naraja backing the mayor's nomination, along with BPD's rank and file. Although Harrison's policies were frequently challenged and critiqued, Police Union President Mike Mancuso sending Fox 45 a statement, reading in part, quote, "The members of FOP3 are encouraged and optimistic about the nomination of Rich Worley for police commissioner. He knows Baltimore and BPD inside and out. We are hopeful that he is given the latitude to perform his duties in a fair and just manner."
Commissioner Worley is respected, he's seasoned, he is also a consummate professional. I don't know that anyone's going to second guess or question that judgment.
Fox 45 has also requested a sit-down interview with Worley. The department says that we'll likely hear more from him on his plans for BPD's future sometime next week. Reporting from City Hall, Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
And you can see our continuing coverage of Commissioner Harrison's departure, from the announcement to reactions from city leaders. It's all on foxbaltimore.com. New details tonight on that fatal Beltway crash that killed 6 people in March. Fox 45 today speaking with an attorney for one of the victims who says her loved ones are destroyed by the tragedy. Sybil DiMaggio was on the job that Wednesday afternoon when her life was tragically cut short after the crash along the inner loop of 695. We spoke today with an attorney for her family who says that family is grieving but trying to honor her life and share her story.
She and her husband met in high school. They were high school friends and years later got married. She had 2 children. He describes her as the kind of woman that would give a beer to a stranger. She loved music festivals. She loved traveling. She loved studying and learning new things.
That attorney says that he's now working on getting more answers for her loved ones that are now left behind, asking anyone with any information or anyone who may have witnessed that crash to come forward. 6 lives in total were lost during that horrific crash. Rolanda Ruiz from Laurel, Carlos Escobar and Jose Escobar from Frederick, Malone Simmons III and Malone Simmons II from Union Bridge, and Sybil DiMaggio there from Severna Park. Happening around the state, Maryland State Police are investigating a deadly crash that happened in Harford County last night. Police say just after 6 o'clock, troopers were called to I-95 in Abingdon. Witnesses say an SUV lost control and hit a Subaru Forester driving nearby. Both of those drivers were killed. 2 passengers in the Subaru were hurt. The crash is still under investigation tonight. Police are saying all causes are being considered, including excessive speed and possible impairment. Today, doctors from Johns Hopkins held a press conference on the impact of air quality and what we could do to prepare for events like this one we saw this week in the future, saying Americans on the West Coast regularly have to deal with issues like the smoke we saw this week.
There's a large population that doesn't have air conditioning. And so thinking about and making sure we have infrastructure for not only cooling centers, but clean air centers in areas that are going to be impacted going forward, I think is something that's really important to think about and plan for.
While Maryland was initially supposed to be in a code orange for most of today, the Maryland Department of the Environment has since downgraded that to a code yellow for the central, southern, and western parts of the state, meaning most people can resume those outdoor activities. Listen up, drivers. There will be sobriety checkpoints in the Baltimore area this weekend. It's part of Maryland's effort to support public safety in the city. Troopers will have the mobile blood alcohol testing truck, which you can see here, to immediately administer those breath tests. A task force will be at several checkpoints along Boston Street. Officials say that location was picked due to an increased number of impaired driving incidents there recently. The main suspect in the disappearance of Natalie Holloway appearing in court. Reactions from friends of the family who say they are finally getting some closure.
More Americans consider themselves socially conservative. I'm Janae Bowens in Washington. I'll tell you why next.
And it's much better outside as much of the region is in moderate for air quality. I'll let you know what it will be like for the rest of the weekend coming up in my Weather Authority forecast.
Making headlines tonight, Joran Vandersloot, the main suspect in the 2005 disappearance of Alabama teen Natalie Holloway, pleaded not guilty today to charges of extortion and fraud. Vandersloot appearing in court in Birmingham, Alabama. The 35-year-old is accused of trying to extort Natalie's mother, Beth Holloway, in exchange for revealing the location of her daughter's body. Vandersloot was extradited and flown into the U.S. yesterday from Peru, where he had been serving a 28-year sentence for the 2010 murder of a different woman. Family and friends of the Holloways reacting to Vandersloot's arraignment today.
We're just very happy to see you, Ron, on Alabama soil, and it just gives us a bit of closure, and we've been looking for this day for many years.
Natalie Holloway was only 18 years old when she disappeared during a school trip to Aruba. She was declared legally dead back in 2012. Her remains have never been found. And it looks like the last leg of the Triple Crown will take place as planned. Horse racing resumed today at the home of the Belmont Stakes, Belmont Park in New York. There were fears tomorrow's big race could be impacted by that poor air quality from Canadian wildfires. The New York Racing Association postponed yesterday's racing schedule, but today they cited that there's been a significant improvement in conditions. A new poll shows the number of Americans considering themselves socially conservative is growing. National correspondent Janae Bowens explains what's behind the shift.
Pop culture and what you see on social media might have you believe most Americans would consider themselves socially liberal. This is what democracy looks like. But new data from Gallup shows that's not the case.
Social conservatism on the whole is at its highest point since 2012 when Obama was president.
38% of Americans say they are conservative on social issues. That's up 5 points since last year and 8 points since 2021, when a series of progressive social justice movements during Donald Trump's presidency were at their peak. Now, 29% say they are socially liberal. Gallup tells us there could be a few reasons for the shift, including dissatisfaction with Biden, more people identifying as Republican, and more Republicans considering themselves socially conservative at a time when controversial topics like transgender rights and abortion are big on the national stage.
Sort of a response to a pendulum swinging so far left.
Now, the poll says one thing, but Sarah Parshall-Perry with the Heritage Foundation suggests some people might be embarrassed to admit their views.
It is you believe it and will adhere to it, or you are painted as some kind of a transphobe and someone who's discriminatory in nature.
Woke is a desire to bully you into thinking elsewise.
Tevi Troy with the Bipartisan Policy Center says another reason for the shift to social conservatism is what it means. He says 30 years ago, it just meant you were pro-life. Now it could mean you're against youth transgender surgeries.
And Janae, where do Americans stand on economic issues?
Well, economic conservatism is also up at 44%. That's the highest percentage since 2012. Meanwhile, 21% of Americans consider themselves liberal when it comes to the economy. Amy.
Thanks, Janae. We'll see you next week.
Right now, you're taking a look over the harbor and over Towson, where we can finally see the blue skies in the background. It's much nicer. On the HD radar, though, we are tracking a weather maker that's leading to showers and a few storms across parts of the region. We are, however, looking at a much nicer weekend tomorrow and again on Sunday. Current temperatures sit at 71, and it's nice and sunny. For a good change, we can actually see in the background over our camera. It's a little bit breezy with winds out of the west-northwest, but otherwise a much nicer day. Here's a look at air quality around the region. Many of us in yellow and moderate, so that's not too bad. Areas in green, including New York, finally at that good level. We'll be there next week, but yellow is considered okay. It's usually acceptable, so you'll be able to enjoy some time outside over the weekend. We're keeping track of a few showers moving across the state. The rain is very isolated, not everyone dealing with that. In fact, some areas sunny right now. Our temperatures are mainly in the 60s and in the 70s. It's been a pretty mild day, but it'll start to feel more like summer tomorrow and once again on Sunday. Outside, we'll have temperatures drop to the 50s overnight. Then by the afternoon, highs reach the mid-80s. That's keeping us above average. We're looking at the low 90s as we finish the weekend on Sunday. And then on Monday, we get ready for the next weather maker. That will lead to showers and storms and temperatures lower and closer to average. We'll keep track of spotty showers and storms overnight. We do stay mostly dry after midnight with clouds clearing. Expect plenty of sunshine as the day begins tomorrow. We'll have mostly sunny skies for the afternoon and temperatures reaching the mid-80s, much warmer than the low 70s that we've had today. As we head into the afternoon, we still stay nice and dry. There is the chance for a few spotty showers a little bit later on, and that will continue overnight and into Monday. So if you have any plans to be outside or Monday, or if you're driving anywhere, you want to make sure that you're driving safely. We'll stay dry on Tuesday and again on Monday and Tuesday. Then as we head into the second half of the week, our rain chances do increase. 55 for the low temperature overnight, then highs tomorrow reaching the mid-80s, but we've got warmer temperatures on Sunday. I'll let you know what it looks like as we head into next week, coming up in the exclusive 10-day forecast.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
The worst of the smoke is moving out of the Northeast today, with much cleaner skies expected tomorrow. Here's a beautiful gathering of sea stars north of Seattle. They were clustered on the pile of a local pier. This species can be found along the Pacific coast from Alaska to Baja California. And we end this smoky week with shots of a gorgeous Friday sunrise at Antrim Park in Columbus, Ohio.
For more content like this, follow the National Weather Desk on TikTok.
A new amendment to the U.S. Constitution is on the table. Coming up, California Governor Gavin Newsom's plan to restrict access to guns. California Governor Gavin Newsom is now proposing a 28th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, saying it will enshrine gun safety measures into law. Rich Rodriguez from our Sinclair sister station in Fresno has the story.
I'm proposing the 28th Amendment to Governor Newsom's proposed 28th Amendment adds what he calls 4 broadly supported gun safety principles into the U.S. Constitution. It raises the federal minimum age to buy a gun from 18 to 21, mandates universal background checks, requires a reasonable waiting period for all gun purchases, and lastly, halts civilian purchase of assault weapons. Weapons of war, Governor Newsom says, our nation's founders never foresaw. The governor made this appeal on his Twitter page.
The 28th locks in the common sense constitutional protections that Democrats, Republicans, independents, and gun owners overwhelmingly support. And it ensures NRA-owned politicians can never strip those protections away.
The owner of the gun shop Firing Line in Clovis says Governor Newsom is dreaming.
It has zero chance of passing, of becoming a part of the Constitution. It literally zero chance. I would say I have a better chance of going to Mars in my lifetime than we have of having a 28th Amendment.
Passage of the 28th Amendment will require a convention to propose amendments to the U.S. Constitution, also known as an Article 5 convention. 33 other states, in addition to California, would need to take action to convene such a convention.
We are looking at a much nicer and summer-like weekend. We'll have better air quality, so you'll be able to safely enjoy some time outside. 86 tomorrow, 91 on Sunday. We have our next chance for rain and storms on Monday, highs around 82.